busy executive like me, you are looking for a good-looking sedan that's also sporty and quite luxurious, and you're not looking to spend a whole bunch of money because you're either just starting out or you don't really see the value in spending over $100,000 on a sports luxury sedan. So what do you go out and buy? Well, you buy this. This is the 2021 Hyundai Sonata N Line, and it's the only trim of the new Sonata that's coming to Australia, which is almost a good thing because it's sporty, luxurious, and yes, it is a big sedan. So it fulfills all those requirements, and starting at around $55,000, it's not going to break the bank either. My name's Cameron. This is Product Review Cars. Let's get into it. Now, starting with the looks, this thing is eye-catching with a capital E. It's because I've been driving this around Sydney, and I tell you what, I've had no more attention in a car like this than I have in pretty much every other car. If I have had more attention, the car was worth more than $100,000. This is $55,000 and it's turning heads probably because of this paint, but more importantly because of these front LED designs which blend in with the chrome, but then when you turn them on, go halfway up the bonnet, and that really grabs people's attention. Moving alongside, you have plenty of N-Line specific items like these wheels, the badging, the side skirts, and you've got this panoramic sunroof, and then around back, we have some extra aero bits back here. More importantly, this integrated boot spoiler, which looks quite aggressive, and especially these little aero fins on the back. I really like how this car's looking, and it's nice and tidy at the back too, with Sonata spelt out across the back, a nice little Hyundai badge, and these quad tailpipes, which are also quite real. They don't finish off into a fake exit. Exits are connected to the actual pipes on the inside. So that's kind of rare to see in 2021 and really helps finish off this car as a sporty sedan. Now, it's on the inside of the Sonata N Line that they really make you feel special. It not only really helps complement the exterior design, but in here I feel important, I feel in charge, but I also feel like I'm being looked after by this car in many ways and through many of its features. And it's because in here we have the top trim in any market, and we only get this trim, as I mentioned, and that's not a bad thing because we get absolutely everything in here, whether it's heated and cooled seats, whether it's a dual screen setup for your driver's display and infotainment, a panoramic sunroof that can open, whether you've got stitching on the seats, a Napa leather and suede N-Line specific bucket seat. You've also got drive-by-wire buttons which just feel a little bit more premium. There's a wireless charger in here. There's a couple of USBs spattered around the interior. There's a heated steering wheels, radar cruise control. There's a 360-degree top-down camera. I could run out of breath talking about how many features this car has, but it's just that impressive that a car that costs around $55,000 and is this big and this nice on the inside exists really in the market. It's a really nice refresher that you're not being gouged for any options that seem a bit ridiculous that you have to option if you're spending north of, say, $80,000. Here, you have it all, and more importantly on the open road, you have all that power too. Now let's say you're done spending time up front and instead you want to spend a bit more time in the back. And I can tell you what, it's almost better back here if it wasn't for the lack of cooled seats. You have almost everything back here in terms of space and comfort. So relaxing in the back, this is my seating position at 5'11", and I have plenty of feet room, enough knee room that makes this acceptable on the back, enough elbow room as well that I don't feel so claustrophobic. Headroom's okay. There are cutouts in the roof to make sure I have a bit more room if I was a bit taller, and maybe some people in the back who may be over 6 foot might feel a little bit tight back here. However, there's enough places to adjust with the front seats that can give you a bit more leg room. Sitting back here, I'm very comfortable and I feel like I'm still in the luxury part of the car. They haven't cheaped out on the back seats at all. There's a nice center armrest, which I would normally suggest keeping down for that ultimate luxury car experience. The Napa leather and suede seats continue in the back, so you're nice and grippy in the back, and really you can relax and recline, and you even had heated seats, dual zone heated seats on the outside ones. Unfortunately, the middle seat misses out on that. You have a window blind as well, so you can block out all the poor people from looking in at you, even though you're the one who saved a bit of money by buying a Sonata N Line over a European alternative. That's a nice touch, and I really, really appreciate these small little features that are included in the Sonata. Now, if you're looking for a bit more relaxation, you can then close the panoramic sunroof blind, and you can even close the rear blind. Yes, there is an automatic rear blind on this car. I love a bit of old school luxury, and that means you can really close this cabin up and have a nice little nap if you need to. And so after a long day at the office, you either have your gym bag or your work bag with you. And then what's really cool is that the Sonata will open the boot for you if it detects that your key is at the back of the car, so you can easily throw a bag into the 510 litres of storage that this car has. Now you can fold down those seats in a 60-40 split by pulling on these little tabs here, not ones found inside the cabin, they're at the boot. And then you get a bit more boot space. However, if you're looking to carry stuff like big boxes or bicycles or anything like that, it's not going to be that practical if you want to chuck them in the boot. Instead, you'll have to invest in some roof rails, or possibly even look into getting a hatchback, or maybe even an SUV if you're looking for those big items. But for a lot of people, this is plenty of boot space, and it's a lot of it too in a sedan of this size. Now let's say you run into the unfortunate circumstance where you have to pop the bonnet up like this when you're at the work car park. So what are we talking about in terms of warranty, servicing costs, and running costs? Warranty is 5 years, unlimited kilometers. Servicing runs about $350 per service. That's either once a year or every 10,000 kilometers. And to fill this up from empty, you're looking at about $80 a tank. So what does that all mean for a car like this? I think the warranty is quite good, but the servicing costs, yeah, it's low, but the intervals are quite short compared to other cars that may be like this one, and you want to drive this a bit more, or you're daily driving this, so those kilometers may sneak up on you. And then the fuel costs, yeah, it's a little on the expensive side to run, but that's all part of driving a sports luxury sedan like this one. Okay, so driving in the Sonata N Line. First of all, whenever you jump into the car and you hit reverse on these little buttons here, you'll get your reversing camera and 360-degree camera, which is really nice because it's sort of a little bit of blind spots with those C-pillars, but it's all good once you get going. Now, off you go. We're starting in normal mode, and we're gonna put the performance gauges up because they look pretty cool down here on the actual digital display. And so driving along in the Sonata N Line, it's so comfortable. So heading out on your daily commute, whether it's work, whether it's out doing chores, whether it's just gonna go have some fun driving, you really are going to have an absolute fine time taking the Sonata out, because it's so comfortable and so big that it just sort of has this presence on the road that just makes it seem like, get out of my way. And everyone sort of does. I haven't really had any issues with people having any issues with the Sonata. It's actually quite nice. And look, a lot of people do like this car. Got a lot of compliments on it, and it has very good presence on the road. Now, what are we working with? 4-cylinder petrol motor, which is turbocharged, and it's got 213 kilowatts and around 422 newton meters of torque, all being sent through an 8-speed gearbox to the front tires. Now, it's front wheel drive only, which can be a little bit annoying, as we'll see later, but for day-to-day driving, it's actually quite good. Now, heading up this little back road, you can sort of see just how nice this car is to just cruise around in. You saw probably that little camera pop up. This has blind spot monitoring cameras in the gauge cluster, which is kind of cool. And so that just means that, like, when you've got anyone in your blind spot, the cameras will pick it up if you haven't seen them already, which is kind of cool. Now, as we navigate our way around a cyclist, you can do that with ease because there's plenty of power on tap. Now, it's actually cool to see over 200 kilowatts in an N Line model. Normally 200 kilowatts in Hyundai's N Line products is reserved for the actual N products. You're normally looking at around 150 kilowatts for N Line stuff. So it's cool to see the Sonata got a bit of a power bump. And that just means that driving around in this thing, it weighs around 1.6 ton. You're looking at a power to weight ratio of around 133 kilowatts per ton. So it's proper hot hatch territory if you were going to put that amount of power into a hot hatch. But in here, it's quite good. It's still not exactly super nimble. So the Sonata N Line shares the same chassis with the Kia Sorento. So it has me wondering what an actual N version of the Sonata will look like, because here it's pretty well on its way to being a full N, because it's got 213 kilowatts, which is quite impressive, a giant turbo, and all these little driving features like Sports Plus, and you've got this great gearbox response too, which I absolutely love driving in. Now, the only issue is that you can feel that 1600 kilo curb weight a little bit when you go through corners, and it is a little bit bumpy over surfaces. So those are some of the downsides when you're driving in the Sonata N Line. However, once you get moving, those things sort of shed away, and when you go through tighter corners, it actually does a pretty good job of hugging corners a little bit, so it's quite nice. However, the rubber isn't really my desired rubber on here. There's some Continental tires on this, and look, they're okay, but it's just not all that grippy for front wheel drive, and especially with launch control. And so that leaves me with, should you buy a Sonata N Line? I say absolutely. If I was working in the corporate world and I wanted to feel a bit more important in my day-to-day drive, this car would do a great job of doing that without breaking the bank. For around $55,000, for the performance you get, the luxury inside, all the stuff I've mentioned before, it really is a great option in the mid-size sedan market. This is the reason why Hyundai is killing it at the moment. They know how to opt out a car to make it look a little bit more special than the rest. And of course, picking the right trim to only bring into Australia, like the N Line. It looks really nice, and we do have an appetite for sports cars here. So that means you get a sporty sedan without having to really spend more than $55,000 to $60,000. It is a very good option. And also, hopefully Hyundai's reliability with a 5-year warranty and some cap price servicing will make this a very reasonable car to own over a longer period of time. So if you're looking for a car that's going to make you look a bit more important, feel more important, and more importantly, drives really well, this is the car for you. My name's Cameron. This has been Product Review Cars. I'll see you in the next one.